right, let's see how this works then.
Okay, so we start with the copper plate. As they said, you put that at the bottom, and then we add the sawdust.
Okay, what does the sawdust do?
Well, one of the important things in the battery is to make sure the two metals don't touch each other. They have to stay separated or the battery is shorted out. Now we're going to add zinc on top. Now we're going to add the copper sulfate.
What does that do?
So this is our electrolyte solution. It's a key element to the battery. It's going to cause the chemical reaction that'll take electrons from one of the metals and allow them to flow to the other metal, and that'll give us our current in our battery. Now we're going to take our voltmeter, and we're going to check and see what sort of voltage we're getting out of this battery. And as you can see, we've got 1 volt on the voltmeter. So our battery is actually working and running.
Wow, and this really validates this ancient text. So what can you do with 1 volt?
Well, with 1 volt and a typical single battery like this, the cool thing is you have enough energy content that you could lift a person, say a 200-pound person, about 10 meters into the air if you had the right machinery to hook this battery up to.
Wow.
A battery with enough power to lift a person off the ground? Could the technology described by Sage Augustia be connected to the floating thrones that were allegedly witnessed in the chamber beneath Kailasha Temple? Is this further evidence of an advanced society that arose thousands of years ago, during a time when extraterrestrials coexisted with mankind? But if so, what happened to Shiva and the devices he brought to Earth? Ancient astronaut theorists suggest the answers may lie hidden high on a Himalayan mountain peak that is forbidden to climbers. The Tibetan Himalayas. In this harsh, desolate region of the world stands a mountain sacred to billions of people, the distinctive peak of Mount Kailash.
Mount Kailash in western Tibet is a remarkable peak. It rises some 22,000 feet, pretty much straight up. It's seen somewhat conical from one side, more like a pyramid from another. It is the origins of 4 of the world's great religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Taoism.
Mount Kailash is believed to be home of Shiva. He is supposed to reside on top of Mount Kailash. Because of that, it is sacred.
Dr. Ernst Moldyshev, a prominent Russian eye surgeon, has led 21 expeditions examining some of the most remote regions on the planet. In 1999, he spent a month at Mount Kailash studying its structure. What he found led him to put forth a controversial theory, one that suggests Mount Kailash may be much more than just the mythological home of Shiva.
Dr. Ernst Moldyshev led an expedition of Russian scientists to Mount Kailash, and he observed that its apex, its peak, highly resembles a man-made pyramid, and began to develop the theory that, in fact, the apex of Kailash is man-made or perhaps made by extraterrestrials as the home of Shiva.
This is a huge pyramid, the largest pyramid in the world. It is in fact very similar to a stepped pyramid.
Could Mount Kailash really contain an artificial structure that is home to Shiva? According to all religions that revere the mountain, setting foot on its slopes is a dire sin. And it is claimed that many who ventured to defy the taboo died in the process. This, along with the fact that China prohibits climbing Mount Kailash, has made examination of the peak impossible. But curiously, many who visit the mountain have reported strange happenings.
Almost every pilgrim who goes to Mount Kailash reports unusual experiences along the way. A lot of people report rapid aging if they stay in the area. Fingernails grow faster, hair grows faster.
Pilgrims go to Kailash to absorb the energy of the mountain. What I personally felt near Mount Kailash, I felt some energy. I usually do not feel energy. I do not have psychic powers, but I felt it.
Is it possible that there really is some sort of energy emanating from Mount Kailash? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and suggest that considering the strange anomalies and the legends that warn against ascending the peak, Mount Kailash may be radioactive. As further evidence, they point to a drawing that was discovered in the Magao caves of western China, approximately 600 miles north of Mount Kailash.
Between 500 BC and 1500 AD, Buddhists stashed away over 50,000 manuscripts in the Magao cave system. These went undiscovered until Oral Stein, a Hungarian-born British researcher, came there in 1907 and rediscovered the cave. Hidden among these manuscripts was an incredible diagram. It's from a 2nd century manuscript, and it's of Mount Meru, the cosmic axis or stairway to heaven of the Buddhist and Hindu tradition. Mount Meru is readily identified as a representation of Mount Kailash. The thing about this diagram is that it appears to be highly technological.
Ancient astronaut theorists suggest that this diagram appears incredibly similar to a modern-day particle accelerator, the type used to power a nuclear reactor. And some propose that just before the time of the Great Flood, the remote mountain peak provided the perfect location for extraterrestrials to dispose of their nuclear technology, much like Yucca Mountain in Nevada is used to store nuclear waste today.
Is it possible that Mount Kailash in Tibet is some kind of hollowed-out mountain? Hollowed out thousands of years ago, perhaps by extraterrestrials, and could be completely poisoned by radiation.
Could Mount Kailash contain the ultimate physical evidence of an earlier advanced civilization here on Earth? One that had nuclear capabilities, which were given to them by extraterrestrials represented in the form of the Hindu gods. Ancient astronaut theorists suggest that the truth about our past may be uncovered by taking a closer examination of Shiva and what he truly represents. August 5th, 1927. Russian philosopher and Nobel Peace Prize nominee Nicholas Roerich is exploring the Himalayan mountains when he sees a giant oval moving at a high speed and glowing like the sun. Changing directions from south to southwest, it disappears into the sky.
Many of these UFO sightings are reported by Hindu pilgrims who move towards Mount Kailash. They've also reported UFOs around Mount Kailash, sometimes appearing to go directly into the mountain. And some people even claim there's an underground UFO base, as there have been reports of UFOs coming from the sky and disappearing at ground level.
If Mount Kailash was once radioactive, as some ancient astronaut theorists suggest, could the presence of UFOs in the area be a sign that it is once again safe to access? Or could it still contain working technology that extraterrestrials continue to utilize to this day? Some ancient astronaut theorists propose the answer may be found by taking another look at Shiva and the possibility that he is not just the bringer of energy, but is energy itself.
When J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, observed the first atomic explosion at the Trinity test site, he cited a line from the Bhagavad Gita, "I have become death, destroyer of worlds." That's the title of Shiva.
Perhaps we should listen and look at these stories from a new perspective. What is the description about? Could it be that Shiva was some type of energy?
Is it possible that Shiva is a representation of some incredible cataclysmic event that happened thousands of years ago? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, but also insist that another demonstration of Shiva's destructive powers is not only possible, but inevitable.
We are approaching the beginning of a new future for mankind. So in a sense, it's the end of an era and the turning of a new page.
Even though Shiva's function is to destroy, and he is given that title, God of Destruction, at the same time, he makes it possible to create, so destruction is part of creation.
The extraterrestrials will come back, and it will be the most amazing chapter in human history.
Is Shiva really nothing more than a mythical Hindu god? One that offered early humans a way of describing some incredible catastrophic event? Or is he something more? Something of extraterrestrial origin? Perhaps the answer lies not in the images carved upon the walls of a temple, or in the words found written in sacred texts, but in the awesome power of energy and mankind's increasing ability to harness it as we make our journey back to the stars.